All right, good evening. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Board of County Commissioners regular meeting, December 2nd, 2021, 5:30 on the nose. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. Speaker is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairman to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other behavior which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to board members and questions raised by the board. At this point, we're going to do a moment of silence. If you would join me and stand for a moment of silence, and then please remain standing. Commissioner Berry directly after will lead us in the pledge. Please join me in a moment of silence. Amen. Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. We're going to start right off and just see if we have anything to be added to the agenda. Madam Clerk, or Madam Attorney?
No, sir.
Commissioner Bender?
I think we've distributed the updated, yes, for, I think, resolution.
Okay, and did you add
Yes.
that language?
Yeah, I had asked for it to be added, so I don't know how that didn't get added, but yeah, that was definitely important, so I appreciate that. So that's been updated.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Berry?
I had one that was distributed this morning, an allocation for Tate High School.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Underhill?
None, thank you.
Okay, and Commissioner May had several, I believe he's out and he will be back. Will he be back before he leaves and comes back? Okay, well, Commissioner May has expressed to me that he has something he has to get away from, but he will be back. And he has asked me to move a couple of items that are very important to him to the end of the meeting, which we will be doing. So before we go any further, though, I would ask for a motion that we adopt the agenda as prepared.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Please vote. On the adopting the agenda.
Didn't want to be a part of that, though. Thanks, Rob.
Is it going to come up? It's thinking. There it goes. All right. Passes unanimously. All right, before we move to Commissioners' Forum, I've been asked by the administrator to move forward a very, very important topic. We need a supermajority vote. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and move forward without objection. We're going to move CAR 3-1 forward.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You will have me until 6:45.
6:45.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll plow forward and just kind of see how that goes. All right, Wes, you're recognized to present your item.
Commissioners, this recommendation is to purchase some wetlands property for future wetland mitigation and permitting on future projects as well as existing projects.
And we did discuss this in some depth this morning, so I see that Commissioner May, you have your light on.
No, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Underhill, you recognize.
Move the item in the affirmative.
Motion, do we have a second?
Is there a speaker?
Do we have speakers to this particular item? We do? Okay, let's go ahead and hear from the speakers.
I rescind my motion.
Okay, all right.
We just have one speaker, Mr. Chairman? I think Margaret raised her hand.
Margaret, yes, you're recognized. Please come forward. Good evening.
Margaret Hostetter, 1500 Dogwood Place. I thought this was going to be the very end of the meeting. This is regarding purchase for almost a little over $900,000, 337 acres, and for future wetland mitigation. The questions I have involve the funding. This is just come up as an issue, and there is, according to the background documentation, a real urgency put into this motion or this case, because it says the owners are requiring the closing be prior to December 31st of this year. This is your only meeting this month. I don't know how long you've been involved with this, but I don't think the public has had any awareness of it. And it seems like a very important and impactful matter. And I never like the idea, just on principle, of something being rushed. And when the owners have said in this backup that they are, quote, requiring the closing of this deal be before December 31st this year, that raises antennas. What's going on? We don't know. And I don't know how long you all have been aware of this proposal or any of its details. There are many, many pages of backup in your documents there. It does say that the funding is from the local option sales tax, or LOST 3 and LOST 4 funds. Were these funds already designated for this purchase? Or is it something that these lost funds have been able to be designated now, perhaps because some of the federal funds coming into our county have alleviated some of the expenses you are planning on for other lost monies? So those are my two questions. What is the rush? Do you really feel the urgency should be, for your board to comply with this demand from the sellers? And where is the money? Has it already been allocated in times past, or are we shuffling money around because of what I said? Thank you.
Thank you,
If there's
Margaret.
any answers.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
and Margaret, it's always great to talk to you. Wes, this has kind of been on the radar for a moment, and I just want to get that clarification for the benefit of Margaret.
Yes, sir. Commissioner, staff has been working diligently on this particular item and issue.
How long?
I would say 4 or 5 months at least 4 or 5 months. You know, the asking price was $3,000 an acre. We settled in at $26.96 per acre. So while, yes, it is a little bit above the appraised value, we are coming in at about $304 under the asking price per acre. It is crucial property. These wetlands type properties are hard to come by and hard to acquire. When you get the opportunity to acquire these types of properties, it's best to move forward and go ahead and do it. You know, this is not the only real estate action that has to be closed by the December 31st. But, you know, they have something they've requested. We need this property for Kingsfield Road, Wellline Road, some bridge work, and some future endeavors down the road. So that's, I guess it's an urgency, but I mean, it's not anything that we came up with 2 weeks ago. It's been being worked for at least.
And to that point, excuse me, Margaret, and to that point, Wes, because I never vote for over the appraised value for a piece of property unless there's a greater public benefit. And when staff's recommendation, there's a greater public benefit, correct? And I just want someone on record saying that.
That is correct, Commissioner.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep. You're recognized.
Wes, my understanding is that you want to be able to purchase these wetlands and then be able to use them as mitigation to enable and move forward. Was it Kingsfield Road and?
Kingsfield Road, Wellline Road, we have a bridge project, and also we'll be extending the Southwest Greenway Trail, probably another 10 miles that will allow us to be able to do that, as well as have wetland properties for future mitigation and.
Yeah, certainly from looking at it from my district point of view, the expansion of the trail is valuable. That's been a long-standing objective of this board. But as we move forward with building roads and bridges in this county, getting wetlands that you can use to mitigate, what happens to those projects if we don't have mitigation land?
They stall. You know, when we go to get FDP permits, Army Corps permits, and our project is impacting an area of wetlands, what they do is say, okay, we will let you impact this area of wetlands. However, you will need to have a set-aside wetland area property, wetland properties to put into conservation to be able to preserve those wetlands, and then that way we are able to get our permits. If we don't have these types of properties to move some of those larger projects forward, then we will not be able to get our Army Corps permitting or our FDEP permitting.
And then that stalls all those projects.
Correct.
I think the projects that you're planning on using that for are outside of my district, but certainly affect my constituents as much as
Sure,
anybody.
absolutely.
Because one of the questions that came up among the environmental interests were, how do we know this land is safe from future development? And I think that the answer to that is its highest and best use, the value to the county, is how it enables something like Kingsfield to go forward. As Commissioner May said, we're buying it for above the appraised value as wetlands, but the amount of money it saves us on Kingsfield and other projects like that is kind of close to immeasurable, actually.
It is, and these wetland properties are quite expensive. I mean, they're quite valuable. They're not just, well, it's wetlands, you can't build on them, so they're not worth anything. They are very valuable to development and very valuable for us to be able to have in our possession to be able to move projects forward.
That's a really good point, because every developer is up against the same things that you just described. They need this kind of land as well to mitigate projects that they want. So there's actually a fairly decent market for it. So I'm supportive
And Doug,
of
with
it.
that being said, I mean, and here's the reality of it, and I'm going to be supportive because we have wetlands, but it's my understanding, as Commissioner Barry asked a question today, that we have no bank of wetlands in our inventory. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think that's it is in the issue, that we shouldn't wait until we have no bank of wetlands that we have to pay above the appraised value. We should continually seek to get those out so we don't have to pay above their appraised value.
Commissioner May, particularly in the southwest sector of the county, I will always be supportive of purchasing wetlands for exactly that reason. It helps us mitigate the flooding. It helps us control a development without infringing on anybody's rights. Just like with the tree issue, if you'd mentioned perhaps even buying that land, right?
Absolutely.
This is kind of that same philosophy, except that financially, this makes a lot of sense. It makes sense on so many different levels, because if we had a wetlands bank in place already, our staff would already be moving forward at Kingsfield. Those
Right.
projects wouldn't be slowed down, and as we have seen many times over, time is money with these projects. So does that?
And Doug,
I realize
and to that point, and so I would just rebuttal and quickly to just set the platform that if we can find acquisition of other wetlands, because we're going to incur this problem in the future. And so that's the
Thank
point
you,
of
Margaret.
that conversation.
Thank you.
I didn't get the other question answered about the lost funds and whether those
Well-
were already allocated or have monies been switched around.
Yeah, you're not necessarily going to get that answer right here at public forum, but staff members can get back with you on that.
Okay, can I respond to the,
Ma'am, you're out of time. Ma'am, you're out of time, respectfully.
Okay.
Respectfully. We heard your questions. Staff will get back with you. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move the item in the affirmative, but I do hope that Wes is tracking. You got at least 2 votes, at least for the next, 11 months? And I think probably a whole lot more than that to be banking up wetlands. Let's not get ourselves up against the wall when we have the opportunity to buy wetlands. I think that's a great idea. So I move the item in the
I'll
affirmative.
second it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. All right, the item passes unanimously. Okay, we'll now jump back to the regular order of the agenda. Appreciate everyone's consideration of that. Commissioners Forum, we'll start out with you, Commissioner Bender. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we've started our green-red light bulb for the fire, changing out bulbs as we have fires. And of course, yesterday we had 2 pretty large fires, including a 2-alarm. So, of course, great work by our fire department and other agencies that came to help us as we were battling those. And so hope everyone has a great holiday season, as this is our only regularly scheduled meeting other than the CAL next week. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Bender. Commissioner Berry, you're recognized.
Thank you. Very briefly, I want to welcome everybody here. Certainly, echo the Merry Christmas sentiments, as well as want to mention there was a tragic accident on Highway 97 over the holiday weekend with three fatalities, and I want to thank the Florida Highway Patrol as well as Chip Simmons at the Sheriff's Department, both committed to kind of increasing the presence on the road to try to mitigate some of the risk of you just have a large, long stretch of for the most part straight road that's for the most part also open. You get high rates of speed, and it makes the accidents, while the propensity of accidents may not be much greater than other areas, the severity of those accidents that do occur is tremendous, and that's a tragic holiday weekend event. But thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner
Mr. Chairman,
Berry.
if I may.
Yes.
Commissioner Berry, I drive that road every day now, and was astonished at the speeds, but I will tell you that it's noteworthy, the police presence on that road. Those folks that gave you that promise, they absolutely have already made good on it. And I know that, I see them every morning now out there, and it's made a difference already. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Underhill. Commissioner May, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I do want to offer condolences to all of those who have lost loved ones in the recent weeks, and give a great shout out to Community Health for the great work that they're doing, and then to announce that we are still doing the boosters, but we've taken a temporary break at the Brownsville Community Center until the 1st of January to give community health staff a rest. And also, I certainly, as I look out, when we get an opportunity today, that something that's near and dear to my heart is Naomi Jones, and I'm sure we'll talk about later, but it's great to see Bridget and Trey. But I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the great work that my good friend Matt from FDLE and Frederick Longmire, and obviously I've not had the personal opportunity to say to Ginger, the icon of your father, and what he not only meant to Leon County, but to Escambia County and the state and the country. So welcome to all of our friends from the State Attorney's Office. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner May, and I was remiss. We do have our state attorney for the First Judicial Circuit, Ginger Bowden-Madden. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for being here. All right. Commissioner Underhill, you recognized?
Mr. Chairman, I had a few things that I wanted to say, but I'm actually a lot more interested in hearing what those people over there in the front row with the with the outfits. I'm actually interested in seeing what they've got to say, so I'll just keep it short and say Merry Christmas to all of you.
Right on. Right on. Merry Christmas to everyone. Just a couple quick things. I want to give a shout out to our Community and Media Relations Department. We've had some changes in staff. We've got new leadership over there, and I just want to say they've been doing a great job. They're getting the news releases out. They're doing a daily recap for all the board members, and I just really appreciate their support when I do coffee with the commissioner, when I do town halls. My peers do town halls. They're right on top of it. So we've got a really good team. Davis Wood, we've got Andy back there, we've got David Haro, and just a shout out to them. They make us all look good, and we need that, believe me. Also, would be remiss if I did not mention that on the subject of coffee with the commissioner, next week, Wednesday morning, I will have my 67th coffee with the commissioner, and I will have 6 medical doctors on the show with me. We're going to be talking about COVID-19, the Omicron variant, lots of different things. We're going to talk about alternative treatments, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. So this will be a very interesting coffee with the commissioner. It starts at 6:30 a.m. If you'd like to join, just go to Commissioner Burgash at Facebook. And then finally, I want to give a shout out to a great nonprofit in our community that this board has been very supportive of for the last couple of years. The Health and Hope Clinic provides free health care, free dental, wraparound services, mental health for free. They don't charge anything. They have volunteer doctors, nurses, dentists, healthcare professionals, over 250 volunteers that give their time. And they had their yearly gala this past Tuesday evening at the Pensacola Country Club. And I just want to thank the generous community that supported that event and raised almost $160,000. So for the mission, Health and Hope Clinic, Olive Baptist Church, shout out to everyone that supports that mission, because there's a lot of need, and just appreciate the support.
Jeff, I do want to congratulate your wife and Health and Hope of what they did. I mean, and I was actually headed to the country club, but my truck breaks down going down to Rankins. I've never been to the country club, but the great work that your family does, I certainly appreciate it. And I was remiss in my remarks, and although they'll be on stage, I did see David Stafford, Supervisor of Election, David Peden, the Home Builders Association there, and we didn't recognize.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
that
I didn't
elected,
see.
and so.
Supervisor of Election Stafford, sorry, it's not a slide.
Well, he's going to have a long night tonight.
Oh, he is going to have a long night. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. And I appreciate the kind words, Commissioner May. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I think she does. All right, Wes, do you have anything to add? No, sir. All right, then we're going to rock and roll. We keep going here. And now we have a special presentation from Pensacola Winterfest. Who would like to come forward and bring greetings? And Merry Christmas to everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and thank you as usual for hosting Winterfest. And I'd like to introduce our honored guest. I think you see them over here.
I think so.
The mayor of Whoville and his lovely associate.
It's my favorite part of the meeting.
Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. I am joined here today by my dear Martha May to welcome our friend Santa Claus, who arrived here on a sleigh. Oh, here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and Vixen and all those reindeer pulling on his sleigh. Merry Christmas! Bells are ringing, children singing, all is merry and bright.
Merry Christmas.
Hang your stockings and say your prayers, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas to you all, Board of County Commissioners.
Merry Christmas.
I have a proclamation
Please,
that I would like to read, if I may be so bold as to.
you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Winterfest proclamation. Whereas the Escambia County Commissioners once again have made it possible for me, Santa Claus, to bring holiday happiness and joy to the children of Pensacola and their families by allowing me to park my sleigh in front of the courthouse during Winterfest activities. And whereas I have observed during this most difficult year, the children of the Escambia County area have shown themselves to be the cutest, nicest, and most polite children in all the world, but also brave and hopeful just when we all need it the most. And whereas the enchanting display of holiday lights in downtown Pensacola make my visit to this city one of the highlights of my Christmas Eve journey. Thank you. And whereas national recognition of Pensacola Winterfest will continue to bring thousands of holiday merrymakers to our city and county as it has through the years, now therefore I, Santa Claus, solemnly name Pensacola and Escambia County my favorite places to visit during the Christmas season. Merry Christmas to you all. Ho, 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 ho.
Right on. Thank you, Santa.
And we want to thank you all so much for your help. We really do appreciate it.
Excuse me.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Hi. You thought you could have this meeting without me? Hi. Yes. Well, you know, I'm the best in all of Winterfest Nation, so I have my own proclamation.
Okay.
I come before you today in order to make amends. It seems that stealing the key is not the way to make friends. The delightful plan I had of locking out St. Nick was all in good fun. I never missed this. Pensacola is becoming covered in the season's decorations, although surely those reindeer deserve some citations. Thousands of tourists will join us this year to share in the festivities and bring Christmas cheer. So I'm sorry for stealing the key to the city. It was so shiny, golden, and pretty. And I'm sorry for cutting those barges loops. Oops. Sorry, I'm just a silly goose. Now that we got that out of the way, we need to see who has the best goodies. Raise your hands to see who has the best Christmas cookies. Me first. Raise your hands. Go ahead.
Right here. Bang.
That's not my cookie.
I know.
All right, now raise your hands for Fatchy Watchy. So neither of you had any of the cookies? That's me. Go ahead, eat it.
Second place.
Fair enough.
Next year he can bring beer to me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. All righty.
Think on that hat, you know,
Yes.
we may have worn out our welcome. So
Yes, yes.
get out of here.
Come see us at Winterfest.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas to you all.
Yeah. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and certainly we wish everyone a Merry Christmas, but rather you support Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or whatever, we wish each and every one of our citizens, no matter what your beliefs are, we wish you a happy holiday.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Very, very nice. All right, very good.
Sorry, Mr. Commissioner, Chairman, I would
Yeah,
also like to
please.
say, it did seem like some people may have landed themselves on the naughty list this past weekend, that there were some people that vandalized the decorations out front. So I believe their pictures are circulating from security cameras. So if you recognize those, please let authorities know that that they again did some damage to the decorations out front for what we just.
And when
entity
we
that
find
does
them, we'll give them the Grinch's cookies. That'll solve. You got that, right on. All right, proclamations. Gentlemen, we have a series of proclamations. The chair would entertain a motion on all of them.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have
Second.
Motion second, please vote.
Again, Commissioners, I want to say happy holidays to you as well.
Happy holidays. And the proclamations pass unanimously, so yes, Horace, you're recognized, please. for the
Indeed,
first-
this is indeed, it is outstanding for us to do is to recognize one of our best customer service technician in the Development Service Department. She's one of the best. I have a great administrative support, and we're going to let Miss Kayla come, the administrative supervisor, to present Miss Betty this great proclamation.
Thank y'all. I don't know how I'm supposed to top Santa and the Grinch, but
It's tough act to follow.
whereas Escambia County has established an Employee of the Month program to recognize one employee to represent the various departments, and whereas Betty Trawick, a customer service technician in the Planning and Zoning Division of Development Services Department, is selected as Employee of the Month for December 2021 for the standards of excellence that she has displayed in the performance of her duties, and whereas Ms. Betty Trawick began her employment under the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners in 1976 as the first black receptionist ever hired. That should be honored in itself. And continued until 1986, at which time she transferred to the Escambia County Comptroller's Office, retiring in 2011 after 35 years of service. And on January 2nd, 2018, rejoined the Escambia County BCC team and provides excellent service to the citizens of Escambia County through all assigned duties. Whereas, as a customer service technician assigned to Escambia County, Betty is tasked not only with being the first point of contact to welcoming customers for the Development Services Department, but also all departments housed in the central office complex. She answers a countless number of phone calls and processes their requests or transfers them to the correct department personnel. And whereas Betty was cross-trained to assist with the clerical duties associated with the Board of Adjustment and serves as backup for the right-of-way driveway permitting process. Upon relocation of the Veteran Services offices to the COC, Betty began assisting and directing appointments for the Veterans Services Officer. She is always ready and willing and able to lend a helping hand whenever and wherever needed. And whereas Betty has been an exceptional volunteer during the pandemic, she served countless hours, nights, and weekends helping the county with the implementation of the CARES Act. Betty took in and helped process applications over the phone and in person for citizens in need of help. She went above and beyond with a smile on her face. And whereas Betty continuously receives positive comments from supervisors and coworkers because of her pleasant attitude and willingness to pitch in to help wherever she is needed. Her customer service skills are outstanding and often commented upon for going above and beyond. She serves with the utmost professionalism, dedication, and a caring demeanor, regardless of the request at hand, ensuring all visitors are appropriately directed to the correct office or person. Her friendly and calming nature, ability to effectively communicate, and a dose of patience all make her a wonderful asset to the Development Services Department and the county as a whole. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida commends and congratulates Ms. Betty Trawick on her selection as Employee of the Month for December 2021.
Thank you. I'm so grateful and honored to stand before you as the, I'm so nervous right now.
You're fine.
To stand before you. Oh, can I go ahead and read what I need, please?
Yes.
All right. I'm grateful and honored to stand before you as the Employee of the Month for December. I'm thankful to be a team member of the Development Services Department for nominating me for this award. I would like to acknowledge my coworker, Janice Costin. Also is the first point of contact in greeting customers. As I continue to serve the citizens of Escambia County with a grateful heart, I'm thankful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Betty, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Unfortunately, even in 2021, we have to say the first black this and the first black that. But I get the opportunity to serve here because of people like Aretta Green, Marilyn Wesley, and yourself, and you've always been an inspiration. We thank God for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Evelyn Ransford, because she's been here a long time.
Who gave you your picture?
My son. Yes. Come on. This is one of my sons. My other children are not here. They live in Texas. So, but this is one of my sons. And my grandchildren are not here. Thank the Lord. Oh, well, bring Princess up. Come on, Princess.
Get them all.
Get them all.
Come on, Princess. Bring the other ones too. Come on, Princess.
You're too late, Claire. You can't get in the picture. We're about done.
Come on. You need.
Horace, you should get in the picture.
Get in the picture, Bruce. There we go.
Come on. Yes, sir.
What? Oh, I thought it was. Who was it? Okay.
Right on.
Evelyn, please tell Crucial that we were here.
And next up, Michael Rhodes is recognized, Director of Parks and Recreation. And Michael, as you make your way up, I just wanted to express my personal gratitude for the work that you and your team has done out at Bellevue Park. I got the pictures that you sent me about the work that you've done to help, in conjunction with the engineering department, to help some drainage issues on Nathan Road. Really appreciate that and appreciate the paving job out there at the field. A lot of good work is done in Bellevue at Bellevue Park. That park is coming back in a big way, and you're the man that made it happen, so thank you.
And Jeff, I have a lot of constituents there, and I was out there doing the football playoffs, and there is a lot of improvement. I always get frustrated about the egress and in and out, but
better now.
It's better, and so just know if you want to make more improvements, you have my support.
All right, thank you. And now you're recognized.
Well, I appreciate the acknowledgement. The acknowledgement should go to our staff, but I got a tough act to follow with following Ms. Trawick and Santa Claus, so I'll try to keep it a little bit brief. But I'm Michael Rhodes, Parks and Recreation Director, and first I want to congratulate Kevin Brandenburg, our Employee of the Year for Escambia County. But with that said, over the last 1 to 2 years, we all know that this has been a heck of a year, retaining employees, recruiting employees, and keeping up with workloads. This has been a challenging 2 years, and there's no doubt about it. While I am super grateful that Kevin Brandenburg deserves this award and is being acknowledged tonight, there are so many county employees that could have got this award. I appreciate your acknowledgments to me, but the acknowledgement needs to go to our field staff, the guys that are out on the street, seeing citizens firsthand. That's where the acknowledgement should go across the board. And again, I'm super happy for Kevin tonight. Our department's happy for Kevin, but this could have went to a ton of people, but I do appreciate the acknowledgement. In lieu of reading the proclamation, if you don't mind, I'll ad-lib a little bit for time, if that's all right. I won't talk too long. Kevin Brandenburg, again, He's saving the county and our department thousands of dollars by doing some stuff, whether or not it's working on boardwalks, whether or not it's hanging scoreboards across the football parks, which I want to say we hung 3 or 4, and we made it probably about 2 days before the football season kicked off. But we had a heck of a youth football season this year. Football was back in the record numbers. Again, he's a jack of all trades. He's listed as a fleet maintenance specialist. He keeps our lawn mowers. He keeps our light maintenance machinery running. But again, he's also doing electrical repairs up in bucket trucks. Again, electricians are slammed. We save more money, but at the same time, it's the timeliness of folks like this being able to get on the job and get it done quick. I could go on and on enough stuff about what he does for us. Briefly, though, I want to talk about what he does outside the county, which frankly I feel is such a big deal. He's a county employee, works his 40 hours or more at times for us. But what he does on the outside, he volunteers his time at Miracle League. Just last week, how many turkeys did y'all cook?
280.
Again, he's a Miracle League volunteer in the fall and throughout the year, but again, they do special events all year. I know that he's proud of this and doesn't get a lot of kudos for it, but he's a member of the Lower Alabama Search and Rescue Team. When he needs to go, I wave, go. Get there as quick as you can. He goes. He serves. He's been a volunteer fireman since 2009. And he volunteers at the Five Flags Speedway, which right now he probably needs to get out of here pretty quick because it's pretty busy out on Pine Forest Road. It's race week. He's married to his lovely wife, Rebecca, and he has a son, JJ, which I believe might be here, but his wife could not get away from work tonight, so she's not here. In his downtime, which he stays pretty busy with us and volunteering, but he also likes hot rod cars and attending classic car shows, so I'm always signing a leave slip when he asks me because he's such a valued employee. Go to those car shows, enjoy it. Your Employee of the Year for Escambia County, Kevin Brandenburg. I got an envelope for him.
I'm not much of a public speaker, but I want to thank everybody for acknowledgement, for the acknowledgement. And Michael Rhodes, Adam Reed, Kenny Shelby, I'm just trying to follow their leadership and do everything I can do to help the county and the citizens of Escambia County.
Thank you, Kevin, for everything you do. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Director Rhodes. Next up, we have a proclamation commending and congratulating Mr. John Penrose on his retirement. Who's going to be bringing that proclamation? Dave Torcell. Dave, oh, here he comes. All right. Chief Torcell. Eric Gilmore.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Executive Staff, ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Briefly, in my time with Escambia County, I've been here about 6 months. I've had a wonderful opportunity to get to know my people, to get to meet everybody, get to work with them, and get to understand who they are, not only as EMTs and paramedics, but as people. And I consider myself blessed that I had the opportunity for the 6 months that I have been here to work with John Penrose. I don't think our staff or anybody realizes who or what walked out the door when John retired. We are losing a generation of paramedic that we can never get back. I try to explain that to some of my younger staff, but I think it'll hit them later when they realize what I was talking about. I feel like John has been such an integral part of our operations. We are where we are, and we continue to move forward in the direction we have because of people like John. John has spent the majority of his life in the service of others. John's been a fire chief. John's been a paramedic. John's been a SWAT medic. John's been an instructor. John has done so many things in the service for others, never thinking of himself, but always of everybody else. And I'm very proud to say I had the opportunity to know and to work with John. So I would like to read this proclamation for you, sir. Whereas John M. Penrose worked as a county employee very faithfully for 30 years, serving the citizens of Escambia County within the medical field, retiring as a paramedic in the Public Safety Department. And whereas John began his career with Escambia County on January 31st, 1991, and he served as a relief emergency medical technician, progressing to relief paramedic, paramedic field training officer, EMS shift training officer, and supervisor. And whereas John has worked for many years on several projects and events to promote safety and education for the citizens and visitors to Escambia County. And whereas John represented public safety throughout the community with his excellent skills and service. He worked during numerous emergency activations as well as other local disasters affecting the citizens of Escambia County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners on behalf of the citizens of Escambia County, the fellow employees, including me, your chief, commends and congratulates John M. Penrose on his retirement. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County express its appreciation to John M. Penrose for his 30 years of faithful service dedicated to Escambia County. Your Board of County Commissioners, Jeff Bergosh, Chairman, District 1, Douglas Underhill, Vice Chairman, District 2, Lumen May, District 3, Robert Bender, District 4, and Stephen Berry, District 5.
Thank you, John.
Congratulations, sir. Job well done, my friend.
I'll just say thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it very much. All right? Good night.
Oh, we're going to get a picture, Mr. Penrose.
Come here, baby. You gotta get the
on the
way.
other side. Good job.
Okay. There you go. Off angle on that thing. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one. You too.
All right, next up, we have a special presentation by Commissioner Berry to commend the good work done by Bridget Jensen and the other members of the State Attorney's Office who ensured justice was delivered for Naomi Jones and her loved ones. And so Commissioner Berry will be presenting this proclamation, and then the following proclamation will be presented to Alvin Trey Bennett Myers III, and that one will be presented by Commissioner May. So Commissioner Berry, you're recognized.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it is, excuse me, it's a great honor to be able to present a proclamation to my friend and distinguished prosecution attorney at the State's Attorney's Office. And it is an honor, even under the circumstances with which we give it. So, whereas on May 31, 2017, Naomi Jones was reported missing from her family home at Aspen Village Apartments, located at 1460 East Johnson Avenue, number 117. On June 5th, 2017, the body of Naomi Jones was recovered approximately 4 miles west of her residence near the intersection of Detroit Boulevard and Ashland Avenue in Pensacola. And during the late hours of June 7, 2017, law enforcement developed probable cause to detain and interview Robert Howard for this egregious crime. Howard was previously convicted of sexually assaulting 2 underage girls in 1999. Bridget Jensen and the prosecution team would go on to present their case to provide closure and justice to the family of Naomi Jones. The prosecution team, under Jensen's lead, would bring a dozen witnesses to the stand with testimony piecing together the whereabouts of Robert Howard and 4 hours of video interrogation that included a confession from Robert Howard. During trial on August 12, 2021, Robert Howard would be found guilty on the charge of first-degree murder and received a life sentence. This verdict and delivery of justice could not have transpired without the good work of lead prosecutor, chief assistant, state's attorney, Bridget Jensen. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida commends the great work done by Bridget Jensen and the other members of the state's attorney's office who ensured justice was delivered for Naomi Jones and her loved ones. Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Jeff Bergosh, Chairman, District 1, Douglas Underhill, Vice Chairman, District 2, Lumen May, District 3, Robert Bender, District 4, Stephen Berry, District 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner Berry. And Bridget, I will say that I did arm wrestle Commissioner Berry because I wanted to present to you, but Trey, you're okay. I mean, beauty over, hey. But we do recognize, and Naomi Jones' family was personal to me and to the state attorney's office. I think I called Mr. Longmire 100 times and said, we got to make sure that we do what's right for Naomi. And so, Trey, thank you. Whereas Alvin Trey Bennett Myers III of the prosecution team would go on to help present the state case to provide closure and justice to the family of Naomi Jones. Assistant State Attorney Myers was tasked with examining witnesses as they testified on the stand. He did his duty and informed the jurors of the facts of the crime, citing many witnesses' testimony and the 4-hour video interrogation. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, commends the good work done by Alvin Trey Bennett Myers III and other members of the State Attorney Office who ensured justice was delivered for Miss Naomi Jones and all of those who loved her. Board of County Commissioners, Jeff Begosh, Chairman, Douglas Underhill, Vice Chairman, Luman J. May, District 3, Robert Bender, District 4, Stephen Berry, District 5. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If you would permit, we would like the State Attorney, Ms. Ginger Bowden, to please get the mic.
By all means. By all
Honorable
means.
Bowden.
Thank you, and you're recognized.
Just very briefly, gentlemen, I want to especially thank you for taking this opportunity to recognize Ms. Jensen and Mr. Myers. Over the last 4 years, they have spent hundreds of hours behind the scenes working on this case. They make trying a first-degree murder case look easy, but there's so much more that goes into it. The investigators, we have a large group from our office today. The investigators, legal staff, other assistant state attorneys, our victim advocates, they all work very hard for this community. And very often they go unrecognized and unappreciated. And so when I was contacted about this recognition today for Bridget and Trey, I was just thrilled, and I want to thank you and let you know how much we appreciate you appreciating us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for being here. All the staff of the State Attorney's Office, thank you so much for taking your time out to come and recognize your coworkers. We greatly appreciate it and all the work that you've done. Okay, moving to the next portion of the agenda, gentlemen. Written communication, we have nothing. At this point, I would ask, did the clerk's office receive the proofs of publication for the public hearings on the agenda and the board's weekly meeting schedule?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Okay.
Chairman, I move that we waive the readings.
Okay, we have a motion to waive the reading. Motion second to waive the reading. Please vote. Oh, there we go. We're doing sign language. Do we still have a number? Okay. Sorry. The computer's thinking. Okay, it passes unanimously. Okay, very good. Waiving the reading of the legal advertisement passes unanimously. Okay, at this point, we'll move to our public hearings. First up, the 531 public hearing to consider a vacation of the alleyway between North P Street and North Pace Boulevard. Let's see, we got 2 speakers on that, so let's go ahead and get to that. Go ahead and hear from our speaker. Board, do you want to hear from the speakers first?
Please, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's do that. To my speakers. Okay. First speaker this evening, Anita Richardson. Here she comes. Good evening.
Hi, my name's Anita Richardson, and I'm just here to introduce myself and to let you know I'm here, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Are you in support of this action?
Oh, yes, sir, I'm
Okay.
the petitioner, I'm sorry. I'm
Very
the
good,
petitioner,
very
I
good.
have it done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for her? Lumen, your light's on?
No. Good to see you, Mr. Richardson. Hope your mom's doing well.
Next speaker this evening is Mehdi Mikichi.
Yes.
Yes, sir. You're
Good evening.
recognized.
I was here a couple months ago for the same case. I believe they ruled against the closing the P Street, the alley, and I'm not sure why we're back here again. But anyway, I've been in that area for 34 years doing business. I own 5 properties within 150 feet of that alley, which it connects 2 or 3 of my properties together. And by closing that street, it's really affecting our properties. And we are doing business on almost on every one of them on Pace Boulevard area. And one of those properties that is behind the alley that you're trying to close, we are putting up the 5,000 square feet building right now. It's in the process of working on. And the alley that we are talking about, Miss Anita, I believe, has her fence practically in the middle of the street. And we would like to see if we can, there's a way we can ask her, which I have been already asked her before, but didn't succeed. We'd love to ask her, see if you can move it back, and if there is a way we can help her even doing it, as far as the cost, whatever, we can do, we would gladly do it. And I believe her reasoning of closing the street is because it adds to her property about 30 feet by about 200 feet or so, which I understand she wants that more property, but that's not by hurting other business around her. And another concern was as far as the street not being clean. I have offered that, I will do it again. Between 2 or 3 businesses that we are there, we can get together and clean that street. We don't even need the county's help. We can do it ourselves, and it wouldn't cost at all a few $100s a month. We can take care of that street very nicely. So it would add to the whole neighborhood.
So you prefer to keep it status quo the way it is? And
Absolutely,
not
and move her fence back to where it's supposed to be, so we'll be able to move, get in and out without, going against the trees and so on and so forth.
Okay, very good. We appreciate you being here this evening.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Stacy.
Yes, sir.
Have we taken any recent pictures of that alleyway?
Yes, sir. I emailed one yesterday, I believe.
It didn't seem like it was clear to me.
It is not clear.
So
The
it has
alleyway
not
is
been
not
cleared.
clear.
Yeah, so no, it has not been cleared. And that's unfortunate. And this was on the agenda, and certainly we appreciate the acquisition of the properties that you have done. But we do recognize that this family has been there when it was O Street and P Street for more than since the 1940s. And I don't see, Stacy, unless you have additional information where this impedes any of the businesses that are connected, or is there any impediment?
No, sir. The only one that currently uses the alleyway is Miss Richardson, and it's to access her property. The alleyway is full of overgrowth that no one else is able to use. So no, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, with that, and I do respect our business community, we've not maintained it. The county has not put any resources into it. This family has accessed that since 1940. And with that, I'm going to move to support the approval of the petition to vacate the alleyway.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. We've got a bunch of lights on, so we'll start with you, Doug, and then you, Robert.
Mr. Administrator, I'm assuming, or any of your staff that want to speak, I'm assuming that we've done the assessment and determined if there is any public need for this property at the current time or in the future?
There is no public need.
There is no public need for this property, either now or conceivable in the
Correct.
future. All right, thank you very much. Second stands.
Okay, thank you, Robert. You're recognized.
Stacy, if you can just, sir, just because she's the petitioner, it doesn't mean that it she automatically gets that area. So Stacy, if you can just relay to him the process after this evening and how he can also try to get some portion of this property.
Yes, sir.
Just so he can understand that process.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, absolutely, Robert. I mean, obviously, the petition, you will get your percentage. I mean, she's not going to get all the property. I mean, everyone will get it.
Our entrance to our property. If you look at the end of that alley, if you do have the map in front of you, it don't make any difference what part of the property I get. I don't need a property. I need the entrance to my property.
This is the section that she'll be closing.
No, ma'am. She wants to take the yellow part.
Correct.
This is my property.
Correct.
This is my entrance to the property.
How do you get to that?
Right
This
here.
is all,
This is, I have an entrance here, I have entrance there, and I have one here. I have 3 entrances to that property.
well, these two entrances are on your property.
Yes.
This entrance that you're looking at looks like you're crossing another person's
No, ma'am.
property.
This is my property, excuse me.
I think he said he had a couple of them.
He has multiple
Right,
entrances into
and
the
so
property.
I was saying,
so, yeah.
if you own property on both sides of that, then you may have a claim to that and not the
So-
petition.
So the property he's pointing to me is technically owned by the Tahar Properties, I believe, is per my records.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
So,
be glad to meet with him after.
yeah, would you please meet with him and see, can you get access? And we certainly appreciate any business that we have in District 3. But I recognize the commitment of the 1940s of this family. And we did not do this without, excuse me, sir, we did not do this without due diligence. Stacy spent an enormous amount of time, and I met with all those who would be affected by it. And I feel I'm not one that would vote to vacate county property. I'll tell you, the worst thing was the vacation of Ralston Lane that still pains me every day. So I don't vote to vacate property without due diligence, and that's the reason it was held, because I needed to be assured by staff and by residents that it didn't adversely affect anyone. And so my motion still stands, Mr. Chairman. I don't know how much
So
more
with all
debate you want.
respect-
Sir, excuse me, you've had
just
your time.
moved there.
I understand, but you've had your
But
time.
nobody been there since
Sir.
1940.
Sir, please, you've had your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I could, Mr. May, is that A through D?
Stacy, is that A through D? Yes.
Thank you.
Second stands.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had one other question.
Yeah, please.
Stacy, by the look of the overhead that's in the backup, it appears the building to the north actually already encroaches on that property. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The properties to the north already have their fence actually into the alleyway. So, and they are aware of that.
Okay, so it appears to me that in this action, we're also avoiding the future issues that are going to come with those properties, as now those property owners now can petition to take ownership of their half of that alleyway, and then their buildings are actually on their land and not in the alleyway. So,
Correct.
it seems that beyond the issues that the petitioner's making, there's a public interest in going ahead and solving that issue as well.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Thank you.
And Commissioner O'Neill, I do appreciate what you exactly said, and as Stacy and I have discussed, it expands, it increases our ad valorem, it reduces the liability for the county of that property, and we've not cleaned it. All we've had is an open liability for someone to get killed, trip. I mean, it doesn't matter if he's utilizing that alleyway. If an accident happened, it's our property.
Correct.
And so this eliminates liability for us and puts it higher on the tax roll. So to me, it's common sense legislation.
Mr. Chairman, you've already alluded to it, but it's an important point for the citizens to know, especially those watching at home, that when we vacate a property, we simply say that there is no public interest in it. That does not convey any property rights to anybody. The petitioner, the citizens who own property adjacent to the vacated property can subsequently go and petition for ownership of their half of it, so from the middle point toward their property. So
That happens,
it's-
too.
Yeah, it happens fairly routinely, and I agree with everything that Commissioner May just said. If there's no public interest in it, there's no value in maintaining a liability. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. All right, the item passes unanimously. Moving forward to the 532, we have no speakers. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second on the 532. Any discussion? Lumen, your light's on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
All right, please vote. Next up, we have the 533. They're in. Oh, you're all right. Yeah. Okay, 532 passes unanimously. We're going to the 533. I have no speakers, gentlemen. All right, 533, we have a motion on the 533 to approve. Motion second to approve the 533. Please vote. .533 passes unanimously. Now, next up, the 534 is the public hearing to adopt the Williams Place Subdivision Street MSBU ordinance. There are no speakers on this item. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion is second on the 534. Yeah, it is. I support it. Oh, Commissioner Berry? It works. I like your system. I like your style. It works. We have a little card system up here. All right, it passes unanimously. Okay, this is the item everyone's been waiting for. All right, we're up to the 535. We do have a number of speakers, gentlemen. It looks like we got 8 speakers. Okay, so we're just going to, would you hear the speakers, gentlemen, before we vote on it? I think we pretty much have to. So let's just go right down the rack. Steve Stroberger, you're up first. You're recognized. 3
And
minutes.
Jeff, before the speaker, you know that I've contended for the last couple of weeks. I'm going to be here till close to 7 as I can.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think we've got a handful of speakers. We can get it done, I think.
Yeah, but if I need to state my position before I leave, I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely. Steve, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you. Before I start, I may not finish this, and my wife is going to finish my statement.
That's
If
fine.
you want, I can continue.
No, we can't. We don't
Okay.
share minutes anymore.
All right.
Yeah.
Steve Stroberger, 16787 Inverarity Point Road. So I've been waiting to see what the outcome of the redistricting would be, and this is what I've learned. First, a reminder as why I got into the District 2 Commissioner election. Tax assessment on Inverarity Island residents for the new water and sewer system. That's what got me involved. I read in the Pensacola News Journal a few days ago that Brownsville and Warrington were getting nearly $12 million for septic and sewer conversions. ECUA is receiving 5 grants from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for septic and sewer conversion projects. ECUA has to match the grant. How? By raising rates 2.5%. I wouldn't normally have a problem with that, except for that wasn't an option when ECUA wanted a new Inverarity Island sewer and water system. Instead, the Inverarity Island residents are paying an MSBU. Gina and I are paying $1,022 annually for the next 20 years. This is after purchasing a new home 2 years ago with a clear title, no liens, no levies, and we paid the ECUA connection fee with the now unusable water and sewer system. So essentially, my neighbors and I, in addition to completely paying for our own sewer and water project, are also paying for Brownsville and Warrington to get off septic and connect to the ECUA sewer system. Here's a quote from Lois Benson from the paper, District 2 ECUA. We wanted those granting agencies to know that we had a commitment to this. It wasn't just coming to them with our palms up. But that's what ECUA did during the Inverarity Island sewer discussion. They had their palms up. They dictated the terms of the county to the county, and the county, acting as a proxy for ECUA, implemented the largest tax assessment in Escambia County history. This is short-sighted leadership. That's why I'm here. I've met with people in Lake Charlene, Perdido Estates, on Inverarity Point, homeowners and Gulf Beach Highway, all unhappy with how the county has handled or not handled their own stormwater or sewer issues. Commissioner Bergosh has said that this redistricting was being rushed, and we would be willing to wait until, or he would be willing to wait until 2023. Commissioner Underhill thought it could be done this year, but has since said redistricting should wait until town halls are conducted, which would mean waiting until 2023. The map you're proposing is very unpopular in Perdido Key and Inverarity. So why are we doing this? I was happy to run against Commissioner Underhill, but clearly he's being drawn out of the district to ensure he doesn't change his mind and run for a 3rd term. The money is beginning to line up behind someone who just moved into the district this year. I've been texting and talking to members of this board for about a year about my campaign.
Mr. Stroberger?
Yes.
Pass the baton,
Okay.
metaphorically speaking. There we go.
Hi there, Gina
Hi.
Stroberger. I'll just continue. It was never once mentioned to me that District 1 would absorb Perdido Key and Inner-Rarity. Not one time. Jeff, you told me that you needed to stay neutral on the District 2 election, but you not only drew me out of the district, you donated to Kevin Brown's campaign. That's not being neutral. Maybe you should donate to my campaign, Jeff. Write a check for $1,000 to reassure me of your commitment to neutrality. Since District 1's population grew the most, shouldn't District 1 contract rather than expand? Jeff, you said that there were political decisions made by former Commissioner W.D. Childers when the district was redrawn in 2001.
Yep, there was.
That's what this current redistricting map is, a political decision. You can't start with a 21-year-old map and make changes. You start with the current active map and make incremental changes. You leave change, I'm sorry, you don't change the map, or you change the map as little as possible. The same people whose support I've been courting and haven't gotten have given their support to Kevin Brown. He has no experience to speak of, with the exception of being the aide to a certain state senator. I met with him in the spring, and he's unimpressive. I didn't file until it was clear I was going to be drawn out of District 2. About the same time, I lost the support of someone who signed my petition, donated to my campaign, and even introduced me at a campaign event. Like you, Jeff, she was another friend of Kevin Brown. What this redistricting does is limit the choices for the District 2 election. If the election was today and the vote was for the best qualified, best experienced, best educated candidate, the candidate with the most accomplishments, one that can run on his integrity and character, I'd be the only choice. I'm a superior candidate in every way the other candidates are not, but I'm not being allowed to compete. I've had 5 campaign events, been in countless living rooms listening to voters, doorbelled, collected last petition signatures at the Interstate Fair. I've taken campaign contributions from supporters and have enlisted an army of volunteers. I'm the only one who has been interviewing for the job, and I would be the first candidate to qualify for the primary. Having said all that, I don't believe consideration should be given to incumbents or candidates, but the political class intentionally drawing an incumbent or candidate out of the race is probably against the law. However, some ECUA board members are being protected from redistricting, even though they will be able to serve out their terms. We wouldn't have to redistrict if we had an at-large voting process in Escambia County. Commissioner candidates would be elected by all the voters in Escambia County, but represent the district they live in. The oath is to serve all of Escambia County. The McMillan case was good intended, but it is no longer necessary, nor do we have to continue to live by that ruling. It's my wish as a resident of District 2 to remain in District 2. I just want my community to have a strong, thoughtful, and experienced leader on this board so we can have the best results in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Next speaker,
Thank you.
Keith Vo.
The question that I have with the gerrymandering with the district is why it's being done this year before the election, where it seems to be disenfranchising our choice of people that can run for District 2 office. Okay, it seems that there are 2 of them that are dropped out. Geographical boundaries, as pointed out with the town hall meetings of District 2 Commissioner Doug Underhill, pointed out that it's a long drawn stretch from south to north, north to south, however you want to call it. Now, I think it's good that you're going to put Inner-Rarity Point and Perdido Key together, but they should be put together in District 2. So all I'm advocating for is we delay this by 1 year or whatever is allowed to also find out a little bit more information on what the effects are. Now, I noticed, or I couldn't find any information on what the per capita income is going to change between the districts. Do you have any information on that?
No, sir.
I think we should, because a ghetto is built by taking the poor and putting them together in a district, whereas the per capita income of District 1 under the new proposed setting seems to be disproportionate. That's, see if I have any other. District 2 would become a redevelopment district, which would be good for federal funds. So I think that was it.
Thank you, Mr. Vo.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Margaret Hofstetter.
Margaret Hostetter, 1500 Dogwood Place. I oppose this plan. It is very contrived. District 1 is Beulah, and that is a rapid growing area with certain very particular types of needs and development patterns, a very demanding situation as it has been. And Perdido Keys, totally different. They have seemingly no relation to each other. Perdido Key is the west side, the area where there's going to be a lot of tourism activity, recreation activity, and so forth. Totally different. It seems that those two areas are not compatible in the sense of trying to be a uniform, somewhat district. And it is gerrymandering in its look and effect. If there is a way to wait until another period of time to make the actual final decision after this election, for the reasons that have been mentioned, that would be a good idea. And also, I think that many of the other areas in the county are, relatively speaking, calm and settled. And this area, which would be District 1, Perdido Key all the way up to Beulah, the issues there are going to are so many and so complex and diverse from one another. It just doesn't seem that it's a wise plan. So I hope that you will not vote tonight for this and wait if there is an opportunity for another period of time. May I ask that question? Is there an opportunity to do this at another time? You're shaking your head no. This has to be decided this year and at this meeting. And so if you vote to oppose this redistricting plan, what would happen? You just retain the current plan? That would be the fallback decision?
It would.
Well, I would ask you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. The next speaker this evening is Mel Pino.
Jeff, and I know a lot of people coming forward, and we stated this morning.
Yeah.
For the record, it would have been my option to postpone this and delay it, but upon advice, we were told that we had to proceed.
We had to proceed.
For me, it certainly advanced more quickly than I would have liked.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And a point to make as we bring Melissa Pino up to speak is, the initial position that I took was I thought it was something that took 6-7 months, because that's what it took when I did this on this very dais in 2011 as a school board member, and we worked together. It's just not a process you do quick, but that's what I said in March, April, June, July, and August. I said we should wait to 2023. We can only do it in odd-numbered years. Other folks wanted...
Supported that, Jeff, and I still support that.
Well, but the issue is, folks felt like we could move forward, and, in the spirit of congeniality and working together with my fellow board members, including Commissioner Underhill, who wanted to do it this year, I agreed, and we did. We rolled up our sleeves. We've worked hard for 3 months, the school board members, myself, and then the other wrinkle that came in was the fact that, we are out of balance. the smallest district and the largest district were more than 10% out of balance. And I've asked the attorney, and she's researched it and sent me a number of cases. We would very, very likely face a lawsuit, and the next election could be challenged. So there's a lot of reasons why we had to do it, and no one's happy. Look, it's not a perfect map. It's hard to make a perfect map, but there is a reason why we had to push it. I didn't want to push it, but we were overcome by events, and we worked at the speed that was necessary. So with that, Mel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Burgash. Steve, you know, you and I are friends, and I am sorry that you're getting redistricted out. And nobody did it because they're worried about Doug running. Nobody cares about Doug running, except maybe me. I mean, I'd love it if he got back on the ticket, if he even made it, you know, through the primary, which I highly doubt. And I stayed out of the conversation about Perdido Key. I was very careful not to talk about the lines at all, because I didn't want to look like I was doing it out of self-interest, because I am a candidate. And if I had my druthers and if I had still just been an advocate, I would have been pushing hard just to take Paul Fetzko's entire map as it was, but I could not do that because that was going to kick all three candidates out of the race. So I kept my mouth shut about it. The only thing that I said was to congratulate Mr. Fetzko on apparently being the person on the dais that actually understands what the real West Side is. And it was not Perdido Key. And people keep saying, well, Perdido Key doesn't have anything to do with Beulah. Perdido Key doesn't have anything to do with Warrington. And I feel very sorry for this gentleman who's talking about the concerns about, you know, being ghettoized. I share his concerns, except it already happened to us over the last 80 years on the West Side. The blight is, it's disgusting. The neglect and the blight that the West Side has gone through. And so I was talking with Joe Gilchrist about this out in the lobby, and I told him it really pains me to be on the opposite side of something from Joe, but I love Joe. And I know that he's got the best interests of the district at heart, but I reaffirmed where he lives, and he lives by the base. I said, why are you worried about Perdido Key? Just like Kevin said in the Myrtle Grove, why are you worried about Perdido Key? Why don't you want the roads for yourselves? You know why? Because disinformation. And I told the people that I was friendly with, don't buy into Doug's disinformation. This thing is now a done deal. And all you're going to do is act like you really think this thing can be influenced when it can't. They have to do the redistricting. So don't buy into his falderall, which is all it was. And they're like, well, you're going to his town halls, so obviously you think it's a done deal. I said, no, I'm going there to combat his disinformation, like I've been doing for 4 years. Kevin and I sat in those first 2 town halls, and we heard so many lies drop out of his mouth. He sat there with a family member asking him the question of whether Myrtle Grove was going to change it all between the 2 maps, and he stood in front of 2 maps that showed that it's going to return 3 districts to Myrtle Grove, and he lied in front of the map. This is what we get as a result.
Thank you, Ms. Pino. Next up, Charles Krupnick, you're recognized.
Yes, Charles Krupnick, 14500 River Road, Pensacola, and president of the Perdido Key Association. I'll repeat my concerns and reiterate some of the information already put out. It makes little sense to add Perdido Key and the Inner-Eddy Peninsula to District 1, since a primary task of redistricting was to reduce the growing population of District 1, not add to it. It's also a significant change to important Escambia County assets that should have had more public input, but in fact had very little. Public comments were at the end of the second joint meeting after negotiations were completed, and now we have public hearing after a legal ordinance is drafted and ready for signature. In the ordinance map, as mentioned earlier, District 1, after annexing Perdido Key and Inner-Eddy, does not conform to the traditional redistricting principle of geographical compactness, resembling more closely a classic gerrymander. Moving valuable properties such as Perdido Key and Inner-Eddy should be done for good cause, but commissioners have not provided any. The reasons given include that Perdita Key was part of District 1 prior to 2000, and the change would give District 1 much Escambia County's western border. There's no weight to that argument. Much has also been made that Commissioner Underhill was absent from the first meeting when the current plan was adopted, but he would never have approved or agreed to that Perdido Key and Inner would move to District 1. Perhaps the best explanation is just bureaucratic inertia once the draft was accepted, and even Commissioner Underhill's unpopularity with the rest of the commissioners. I'm concerned the rapid population growth and infrastructure needs of Beulah in District 1 will make Perdido Key priorities less likely to be met. I'm also concerned about possible compromise of Perdido Key's master plan and endangered species environmental protection programs that help manage the island's growth. Here's an anonymous comment following a redistricting article in July of 2021 in the North Escambia County Online Journal. It would be great if Burgash takes over Perdido Key Beach. Note the author calls it a beach, not an island or a residence. Rejuvenates the 4-lane. 82% of Perdido Key property owners are opposed to that. And gets the Porch Creek Indians to put in a casino. 97% of Perdido Key property owners oppose that. And removes the no trespassing signs that are there illegally. They're legal. Private beachfront property extends from the dunes to the mean high water line, and 3 no trespassing signs are permitted per the 2019 Escambia County guidance. He may have just, whoever made this entry might have just to rile up people like me, and it worked. But this change is resurrecting old fears, okay? So despite the work done on the redistricting plan, Escambia County Commissioners should follow the physician's principle to first do no harm. They have not provided valid reasons for moving Perdido Key in the Inner Peninsula to District 1, and it's a move that could indeed do some harm. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Charles. And the next speaker is Joe Gilchrist. And then after him, we'll have our final speaker.
It was a lot more fun 50 years ago to come down and speak to the county commission. Anyway, my name is Joe Gilchrist. Have lived on the Key, live in the area now, and there are a variety of things I would just like to bring to y'all's attention. Mr. Underhill and I don't always agree on anything, but we agree on this. What it amounts to is this will reduce the political ability of that segment of the county to represent itself. It'll be gathered up, and Mr. Burgash, I know quite well, I have a lot of respect for him, but he would have 2 of the most dynamic areas in the county to keep up with. And I personally think that we would be better off with that area being part of its economic area that runs along the beach shore. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to take a lot of your time, and Mr. Krupnik and the PKA and Chambers of Commerce, a lot of us rarely get along together, which is why we have so many things go wrong to us, I'm convinced. But anyway, thank you all for your time, and I just hope that you look at this based on your responsibility to represent citizens and to do things that allow people that are your citizens to best help govern themselves. One of the things, I used to teach government, and one of the things I sure as hell know, if you don't allow people to be involved in the democratic process, you lose it. And I don't want us to lose that democratic process in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilchrist. And our final speaker this evening is Mr. Joseph Mirabile.
Good evening. My name is Joe Mirabile. I'm a resident of Perdido Key, where I operate a business as well. I'm not here with a petition to make a proclamation or to make any demands. I'm here to express the opinions of the people that I represent more than a handful, who are Perdido Key residents and owners who could not be here tonight, many of whom don't reside on the Key full-time. They all asked the question when they heard of what was planned as relates to redistricting, why? I heard why. Okay. Is the Key not more like the rest of the county bordering the water? Is this change for change's sake? Is this to satisfy and possibly assuage the county's perennial fear of litigation? This McMillan ruling, it went away, didn't it? A third of a century ago. A third of a century. It expired. I don't know why it's continually put in our faces. Why does the county want to disenfranchise people? Why create some unrest, some hostility, some bad feeling? What's wrong with the status quo? Why this change is what these people asked of me. As if I know why. I don't. I'm asking you folks. What does Perdido Key have in common with the geography north of I-10? All right, I share Mr. Krupnick's comments, sentiments. I think he is, as they say, spot on in his arguments and his commentary. It's mind-numbing to me personally to know that we will be in a district with folks north of I-10. They're very nice people up there. But I have to pack a snack if I want to drive there. And this argument about the west part of the county, no, it's where there are common interests. Along the water, there are needs which are fairly different from the north. And all of us are aware of that. Perdido Key, which may finally be moving into the 21st century and learning to live with its host of environmental constraints, does not need what appears to be unjustified change. I'm not going to call anyone names. Thank God I'm not stupid enough to run for office, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Every time I come here, that's all I hear is political bickering.
Political. Your time has expired. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you
I
for your...
respectfully ask you to reconsider the proposal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that the last speaker, Jeff?
Duly noted. That is the last speaker. And before I turn the floor over to you, Lumen, I just want to say, I want to bring to everyone's attention on this dais, I've heard a number of people talk about disenfranchising. Well, it has been brought to my attention that in the Florida legislature, a provision is in bill drafting right now by Representative Fine that would, if passed, would dictate that all commissioners in single-member districts like us, after the decennial census, after the redistricting, we'd have to stand for re-election. So that's going to be something that's moving in the Florida legislature. They put it out last year. It was killed. I don't think it's a good idea, but if it passes, all five of us, all five districts could be up for re-election in the August primary. And that's to do precisely what a few of you said about talking about this disenfranchisement. So, I mean, obviously, that's going to make our lives a lot more difficult, me, Commissioner May, and Commissioner Barry, if that was to pass, because we would have to not only run last year, but then next year, but then 2 more years after that run again, even though we already won 4-year terms. So just so everyone knows, that's out there right now. That's been filed. It's in bill drafting by Representative Fine. That's a big deal. So if this passes tonight, there's a likelihood that all 5 districts could run, whether or not it gets over the finish line, but I just wanted to put that out there so everyone knows. Commissioner May, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so each time I've ever ran, there's been somebody outside my district that's ran against me. But if they were successful, they would have to move into the district. So it doesn't prohibit you from running if you're outside the district. But each one of the speakers, and I would just only do this for clarification because I'm about to exit as I promised I'd be gone at 6:30, is insulting to my dear friend Clifford Stokes, who's a part of the McMillan case. The Perdido issue and the redistricting has nothing to do with the Macmillan case. It has nothing to do with minority majority. It's other politics, and it's insulting for someone to even to attempt to insinuate that this has anything to do with minority majority districts or the Macmillan case. And that's a fact, because everyone that's spoken is about Perdido. That politics is your politics. I don't care. But it has nothing to do with the Macmillan case, and nor should it be insinuated, because those people who have sacrificed and fought on the Macmillan case and continue to remain silent. But I will voice very adamantly, it has nothing to do with the Macmillan case, and Ray Charles with shades on can see that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, that's the end of the speakers. Before we turn it over and the chair would entertain a motion, I will say this. I was very, very vocal, March, April, June, July, August. I didn't want to do this until 2023 because of COVID, because we got our census data late. Obviously, the board felt we could get it done, so we rolled up our sleeves starting in really September, and this is the culmination of a 3-month process. So, I hear what everyone's saying. The map isn't perfect, but the map is good, and the map meets the spirit and the letter of the law. It balances the districts. It does reunite communities like Myrtle Grove that have been jigsawed apart since 2001. It brings those back together. It puts the communities of Perdido back together. So again, not a perfect map. The majority of it really was brought by District 2, by the District 2 school board member, Paul Fetzko, who brought a really excellent map. And my counterparts in District 1, we moved and we worked from that map. Commissioner Underhill brought some maps as well. They didn't get support on this board from the school board nor from his counterparts here. So we are where we are. No one wanted to rush it. I certainly didn't want to rush it, but there are legal ramifications if we do not move forward. So, Mr. Stroberger, I understand what's going on with you. I don't like it. It's just something that happened. We've got to draw these lines. We can't look at candidates. We can't look at that. So it's not a perfect map, but it's a map that I'll support if the motion's made. Thank you. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As has been said many times throughout this conversation, the two commissioners on either side of me believed that we should hold off on this, and that was a legal option that existed at the time. And I was very adamant to believe that we could do it. I thought we could. But it is clear that while we were able to accomplish the minimum standard of achieving a map, what we haven't been able to do is create a solution that is widely accepted by the population. So, Jeff, you were right, and I was wrong. We can't do it in time and get it right. So we've demonstrated that we tried, and I think there's a great deal of value in that. And our current arrangement does not, in fact, disenfranchise our minority community. So it would not, it'd be very unlikely that if we go into if we finish out this election cycle, which has already begun, rather in earnest actually, with the current map, then there's no harm done, and we are at very little risk of being hit with a lawsuit. So to you, Commissioner Burgash, and to you, Commissioner May, you said that the smarter play was to not do this this year. And I agree. You were right, and I was wrong. So I would say that our smart move today is to recognize that we gave it a heck of an effort. We tried hard to get it right, but we've clearly we don't have the people behind us on the issues. I mean, all of the emails that we've seen, the lion's share of the emails that we've seen, I'm assuming that you guys are getting the same ones that I am. And in many cases, there are emails that go to all 5 of us, so I know that you are. I was wrong when I thought that we would be able to do this in such a way that we would be able to present a map in front of the people that the people would get behind. And so for that reason, I think that we should go ahead and finish out the 2021 election cycle on the existing map, and then take up the option, or the duty of redistricting for the 2023 elections.
I don't see any other lights on. Chair would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the 535 public hearing.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the 535. Any further discussion? Please vote. All right, the 535 passes 4-1 with Commissioner Underhill in dissent. All right, moving along. And thank you to everyone who showed up to speak and to participate. And I will announce for the record, because it looks like there'll be some changes in my district. After the first of the year, I will be announcing a series of town halls in the newly acquired sections of District 1, and more announcement on that to follow. Thank you. Clerk and Comptroller's report.
Yes, sir, as stated this morning, administrative only. The details were published. Thank you.
Move the clerk's report.
Second. Motion is second on the clerk's report. Please vote. Okay, clerk's report passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. Okay, moving forward next to the growth management report.
Yes, sir.
Director Jones, you recognized?
Yes, sir. We have our public hearing. We have item A, recommendation concerning the review of the rezoning cases, Z2021-10, Z2021-11, Z2021-12. Item A.
All right, it looks like we have one speaker, Meredith Crawford. You just waving in support, or? Okay, Meredith Crawford is waving in support. With that, we have no other speakers on item 1. Chair would entertain a motion.
Move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
Motion is second on item 1. Please vote. All right, GMR 11 passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. Up next.
Yes, so we have the next, authorize the chairman to sign the orders of the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners for the rezoning cases that were reviewed with the acknowledgement that rezoning case Z2021-10, the planning board made a recommendation for a denial.
Okay, all right, we have two speakers on this item. Board, we go ahead and hear the speakers. First up is Marion Reitzamer. Okay, yeah, please come forward. Good evening. You're recognized.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Marion Reitzamer. I live across the street from the property trying to rezone at 11710. I'm at 11. I purchased this property and built my home a little over 2.5 years ago. It's where I was hoping to stay for my remainder of years. But if it becomes commercialized, I will be leaving. It's a residential area. We have a lot of traffic already. We do not need any more traffic. Less than a mile down the road from me, going west, there's a sign the county put out rerouting traffic, going to the Blue Angel practices and shows to go up Bower Road down Sorrento to cut out the traffic on Gulf Beach Highway. I don't believe any of you people up there in front of me would want a business across the street from your home that you purchased. I would appreciate very much that you leave it residential. It had its chances commercial a long time ago, went out of business or whatever happened, I don't know, doesn't matter. But now it's residential. There's been many homes built in that area right where that place is. Brand new homes that we're going to lose our value, property value that's already gone up some. So I would appreciate leaving the zoning the way it is now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I realize that there may have been I may have made an error in my motion. I want to make sure the motion was to accept my motion was intended to be to accept the
slate.
The slate, accept the planning board recommendations for the slate.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we can actually do that.
I think we
think
do we
we've
have to
gotta-
go one by one?
Yeah, I think we need to go back.
Yeah.
I think we need to rescind our action, go back and go case by case.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. I was thinking about it once we did it as like, that didn't make a lot of sense. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we rescind previous board action taken tonight.
Second.
Okay, so let's vote.
You need to do them one by one, and frankly, my concern is now Ms. Crawford may have left. And she's on the last two.
Yes.
Somebody call her.
Yeah.
Someone call her on her cell phone.
Mr. Chairman, can we do a hand vote for the rescind?
Yes.
And then we'll do, thank you. And then we'll do the system for the 3.
Okay, do you want to restate your motion, Commissioner Underhill?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yes,
The
go ahead.
agenda is, the way that the agenda is put together is not, it should be
yeah.
line itemed, case by case.
It's a little
with
different
numbers.
this time.
It's not.
Historically always has, and that's why I made the, and
It has been.
Why is it different this time, Director Jones?
There was some concerns the way that it was done historically, so this is a first attempt to try to do it a little differently.
It didn't work.
Okay?
I don't know what those concerns were, but.
So we will take each case.
Okay.
If we can.
Yep.
Rezoning case Z 20-21-10 from HDR to low-density mixed use. The planning board made a recommendation for a denial.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move on the, in case number Z 2021-10, that we accept the planning board's recommendation and move to deny.
Okay.
All right.
Motion?
Do we have another speaker?
We
I thought there were two
we have-
speakers.
Well, we were on the other item. We were on the next item already.
I
So,
thought we were on 20.
So Marion
2021-10.
Wright-Sammer.
Right.
She's a speaker on this
She was a
item.
speaker on this item. Is there any other speaker
oh,
on?
Richard Mahan,
Yes.
is he here?
He's not on this one.
He's on the,
545, that's where we
no,
were.
he's on the third case.
Yes, it's on the third case.
He's on the Highway 98 case.
He's on the.
So we can take
Correct.
action on the Gulf Beach Highway.
21-12, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it appears we can take action on what Commissioner Underhill moved. I
All right,
second.
so did you second?
Second that
second
motion.
it, yeah.
Okay, so this is just for Z 2021-10.
And it's a denial.
Yes.
And it's to accept, no, it's to accept the planning board's
And there's
recommendation.
none of these other people that spoke at the planning board are here.
No, that,
Okay.
I don't have any list. Do we have anyone else? I don't see anything on my list. Nope. Is that clear? All right.
So a yes motion is to, or a yes vote is to deny?
Correct. Yep, that accepts the planning board's recommendation. All right, and that passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
4-0. No, thank you.
Apologize for the confusion.
No, it's not your fault. All right, next one.
The next item, case number Z 2021-11, from AGR to medium-density residential. This is part of the structure plan. The planning board made a recommendation for approval.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion on that one. There's no speakers.
Case Z 2021-11, move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second on that. Any further discussion? Please vote. Z 2021-11 passes unanimously. All right, the final one, Z
Yes, the next
2021-12.
2021-12. Again, the planning board from HDMU to commercial. The planning board made a recommendation for an approval.
Okay, I don't see any speakers on this. Do we have any speakers?
No, we do. This is the gentleman.
Mr. Mahan.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Mahan, please, you're recognized. Please, yeah, just hand it to one of the staff members there. Chips, will you grab this from him, please? And then he'll bring it forward.
We have to make sure that it was presented.
If that is not evidence that's in the record in
Oh,
your
wait,
backup,
hold
you
it.
really should not be taking it into consideration.
Was that something that we had at the planning board? Okay, never mind, we can't consider it.
Yeah.
Can't
Your
consider-
record is in your backup, and that's what you need to make your decision based on. He can summarize his comments. He did speak at the planning board, but beyond that, I would recommend that he's limited to that.
All right, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm Richard Mahan. My address is 9843 Loquat Drive, Pensacola, Florida. I live in the Shangri-La subdivision.
Okay.
I'm very much opposed to the rezoning of the adjoining property that's located to my subdivision's entire east and south boundaries. I own two houses in a vacant lot in my neighborhood. My one house is my primary residence, built in 2016. A family member resides in the other house. My family member's occupied house is located at the point of a 90-degree bend of the subdivisions and adjoining properties. A severely neglected county ditch separates our subdivision from the land parcel requesting the zone change. The county drainage ditch has many grown trees in the center of it, as well as various other types of stuck material in it, and it causes our neighborhood to flood. Being a member of this community since December 2002, our subdivision has seen an increase in flooding incidents each time development occurs around our subdivision. Recently, it has been the state's Highway 98 ditch work, and they added a turn lane into our neighborhood, as well as a few others on 98 in front of our subdivision, and installment of guardrails along the road frontage of the portion of the adjoining property along our subdivision's road frontage. In our community, not only will our homes suffer frequent flooding from each of our streets, but our backyards do too. And dependent on the rain event, water will get into the homes. Lately, the flooding occurs more often on our community streets just from average rainfall. The flooding that my community endures imposes great concern for each resident in the subdivision, as the flooding impairs all emergency services agencies. This hinders the responses of ambulances, fire, and police. Depending on the rainfall, the water will flood tallow tree, ginkgo, and loquat drives with flood water that reaches mid-shin to knee height before it recedes off the road and just sits in the ditches forever. A zone change to commercial to the adjoining parcel will create a numerous amount of undesired effects to be inflicted upon our subdivision. The adjoining parcel requesting zone change has some of its parcel in the flood zone A. This location requesting flood zone for the commercial use would cause the location to be fully stripped and cleared out of all underburdened vegetation to have it built base plus 3+1 for the flood zone requirements. This would place that parcel's elevations much higher than our subdivision. Our community would suffer more flooding. Our property values would suffer, as well as the adjoining property would leave our residents void of backyard serenity and void of interior privacy, as the home's back windows would be more viewable from the higher elevation of the adjoining property. Our community would lose its green belt that offers deflection from various hurricane winds. And the green belt lost, we would also endure more noise from the active nearby Run airfield. We'd also endure increased traffic noise from both the Highway 98 and Blue Angel Road traffic. We also suffer the late night noise from the proposed current owner's desire to place a nightclub on one part of that parcel, and any other noise from any other development that may occur on the neighboring parcel too. As I stated before, I'm opposed to the zone change, as approval of this zone change would open up this land parcel to additional future unknowns, thus creating additional harm to numerous single-family homes located in my subdivision. I am supported by the majority of the residents in my subdivision in opposing this zone change. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. This is in my district, and I have looked this over. I've walked those neighborhoods when I've campaigned. Horace, let me ask you a couple of questions here. Anything, Horace, he's the Director of Planning and Zoning. I appreciate you being here, Mr. Mahan. Any sort of, he mentioned a nightclub, so explain like what process that would have to be to go through. I mean, is this something that, is that really a fear that is warranted?
Well, in this particular zoning category, let's put up the uses. Let's put up the uses. There is it does allow for adverse use. I don't have my book in front of me. Let me see, let's look at that.
Because I think the commercial does a commercial permit it, but HDMU does not?
Correct.
Yeah.
HDMU does not allow for bars and nightclubs.
But commercial does.
We're looking at it right now. It requires bars and nightclubs in this zoning category. It will require conditional use approval.
Okay.
So if it is zoned, if the board decides to zone this commercial, and if someone want to put that, they will have to have another public hearing.
Okay, so
Citizens notification, it would not be just no carte blanche.
I'm trying to allay his concerns. So in other words, it doesn't just happen. They have to come before us to bring that sort of a business on that parcel, Mr. Mahan. I'm speaking to you because I believe the planning board did approve this. They've looked at this from a lot of different ways. But the idea that they could just dump a nightclub there, that's not going to happen. That would require a conditional use permit. They have to come back before us, at which point you and all your neighbors could come and speak in opposition to that, which would carry a lot of weight. Not to mention the process they'd have to go through with the alcohol, beverage, and tobacco department. So it's just not something that could happen just like that. So appreciate you coming tonight. Okay, no other speakers. The chair would entertain a motion on this item. And I am in support of supporting the planning board's recommendation.
Sure. Then I'll move Z 2021-12 in the affirmative, or supporting planning board's recommendation.
Yep.
Can you give me a minute, Mr. Chairman?
Dies for lack of a second. Dies for lack of a second. So we'll just have to bring that back or send it back to the planning board.
So,
unless you want to.
Mr. Chairman, I need just a moment if you.
Just a
Give
moment.
me just a moment, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. It's not a conflict or anything related to that property owner or the agent for the property owner. But in my day job, I do have a relationship with Mr. Mahan.
Okay.
And would have to abstain from voting on the item. And I apologize not mentioning that this morning or mentioning to Madam Council previously. I did not necessarily know that he would be here to speak.
Okay.
Even though he spoke at the planning board, would not be necessarily a conflict, but you're
Well-
here. You're here this evening, and it does represent a conflict. And so I apologize to my peers, especially with one not here,
Yeah,
if
that's
that
fine.
impedes our ability to do business. If if there would be, and Ms. Crawford, apparently has left.
No, she came back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say, just
With,
apologize to everybody for not recognizing that there may be a conflict this morning when Commissioner May was here.
That's fine.
So I don't know what the will of the board may be, if it's to
Well,
try to bring
the
it
chair-
back when it's a full board or
Three-
whatever.
right.
Drop it.
You can conduct business with three, and he can abstain. If he abstains, he's considered to be as though he's absent from the room.
Okay. Well, as chairman, I typically don't like to second motions, but Commissioner Bender, if you will make the motion again, I'm happy to second it, and then we can move forward, and we'll see what happens.
Sure, I
The
move.
planning board approved it.
Yes, so I move Z-2021-12
Just a second.
for approval as stated by the planning board also.
Yep, and I'll second that. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Commissioner Underwood.
When you look at the layout of that and where the wetlands are, any commercial development of that parcel is going to be right up against the back of those houses. I struggle with the idea that you could, how much commercial you could actually put in there that wouldn't actually have an impact on Tallow Tree. So while I recognize that you're supportive of it, I recognize that the planning board did. I cannot imagine how commercial could go in there with any level of density that's not going to have a vast impact on the quality of life of the folks on Tallow Tree. So I'll have to be voting I can't vote in support of it.
No, I understand, and I appreciate that. Well, it appears we have a motion and a second, but with Commissioner Bender, with Commissioner Berry unable to vote, and Commissioner Underhill, we'll just see what happens, and I'll call for the vote. Call the question. I don't see it. What happened?
Sorry, because the PowerPoint was up, the vote is 2 for, 1 against, and 1 abstaining.
Okay, 2 for, 1 against, 1 abstaining. Does that pass?
It's my opinion that
That passes.
it.
That passes. All right.
Under that set of circumstances,
Yeah.
it's my opinion it passes
It's
it.
kind of an interesting, weird, that's kind of the strangest vote I've seen up here, but weirder things have happened. Okay, now can we move to the other portions? Director Jones, you're recognized.
The next item is the public hearing for consideration of of amending the official zoning map for the following cases as listed below.
Okay, are we on the 546 now? Is that where we're at?
Yes, sir, on the 545, the official zoning map. amendment.
546, okay. Chair would entertain a motion.
So I do understand that we can take these as one.
Yes.
Yeah, well, let's do it, man. I'm here to take a motion.
So I'll motion to approve.
Commissioner Bender, I would presume I still need to abstain from the second,
Oh.
so could we take them separately?
Yes.
Okay,
Let me make sure.
so we got which one does he have to abstain for, 546?
So I don't think 2010 was,
545.
545.
well, it's dash
The Highway
12.
90 the Highway 98
Yeah.
property.
Mr. Chairman, I believe, are we on the 545, the amending the official zoning map, right?
Yeah, the first
'Cause-
part, I can vote on 2021-11, not 2021-12.
Okay, yes, sorry, I'm just trying to
So
clarify.
if you do it as one vote, then you need to abstain. If you do it as two separate.
Break it up.
You can
All
break
right,
it out.
So I'll move Z-2021-11.
All right, second.
All right, motion and a second. Please vote. All right, that passes unanimously.
And then I also move Z-2021-12.
Okay? We got a motion? Do we have a second? We have a motion? Do we have a second? I'll make the second. I seconded it. All right. Motion second, please vote. Okay, that one passes 2-1 with one abstention, and that passes. Okay. Next
So
up.
Now we have 546. This is to amend the future land use map, small scale map amendment, to cancel the 546 of public hearing.
Move to cancel the 546.
We have a motion and second. Please vote. .546 passes 4-0. Commissioner May off the dais. All right.
The next one is the 547, again, to cancel the 547 public hearing.
Move to cancel the 547.
Second.
Motion and second. Please vote. All right, that passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. Next up.
The next one, 548, to review and adopt a small scale map amendment as referenced below.
Chair would entertain a motion on the 548.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Please vote. .548 passes 4-0. 549.
549 is to review and adopt a small scale map amendment 2021-06 as referenced.
No speakers?
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Motion second, please vote. .549 passes 4-0. Commissioner May off the dais. All right.
550 is to review and adopt small scale map amendment as referenced.
All right, we have no speakers.
So moved.
Second.
Motion? Motion and second, please vote. Five forty,
That should be 550.
which one?
550?
550. 550 passes 4-0. All right. Finally,
The next item is 551. It's to an opt-out zoning, the second of two public hearings.
and we have no speakers on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second on the 551. Please vote. Passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to bring this up real quick as we are, before we get to the consent agenda.
Yep.
As the consent agenda, the scheduling of those meetings is similar to the format that we just had. In the time that we're going to have to vote and a couple other things, would that give you all some time to maybe redo this schedule a little bit to space out these as individual times like we would typically do, as opposed to taking them under one item?
Yeah, you mean in terms of the way we put it together on the
So,
agenda?
right, so for the consent agenda, it's placing 5 cases
Right.
Under the 545.
Right.
I think we would typically hear each of those separately, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Each case would have a 545, 46, et
That's the way we've
cetera.
always done it in the past.
And I realize that, there were a couple other, 546, 547, 548. So I don't know if we just move everything a few minutes down or something like that, or.
Yeah, and create their own
I would-
standalones.
Again, I would defer to the clerk's office if there's a preference on how we do that. But I'm trying to give you a little bit of time to figure it out before we get to the item.
So, Mr. Chairman, we actually don't handle setting up that item in the agenda or anything like that. However, if the item comes as is, we can try and help remind the board to vote on that item separately, but we don't handle that item or anything. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine then. Again, I'll take some input from the board on if we just do what we just did and have to take each one again, because, Delane, it looks like we would have 5 votes for the 545.
So we can take 5 votes on a single item if we need to. That's not a problem on our end.
Okay.
We would just need, unfortunately with Civic Clerk, we cannot see the item while we're operating the software. We can only see that we're at this item. We can't see the details about the item.
Yes.
So we can try and make a note to help the board remember that we will need to take separate votes on those rezoning cases. But it absolutely can be done if it comes as one item. It would just we would need some support to help remind the board to take care of that. We would try to to help the board, but it would help if Mr. Jones also would
Yes.
help remind the board.
Yes, and if I may,
Yes.
it appears that it is a strong desire to revert back.
Yes.
To revert back, and we
Okay.
would definitely do that, make it.
This doesn't
All right,
work.
thank you, Mr. I was just trying to
Yes.
give everybody some time
Yes, to make
before we
it
head
to
to the next thing
revert
to do it, but.
And make it.
We'll do them
flow.
one by one, Robert.
Yes.
Yeah, next
I think
time,
that's the way
but,
we do it.
Revert
but, we'll just have to do this again when that comes up, but,
Yes,
okay,
sir, we'll
thank
get
you.
it right. It'll be reverted back to when it
All
comes
right,
before
so
the
let's just we'll take it in pieces. So you're up.
Yes, sir. The next item is the GMR action recommendation concerning an at-large reappointment. We have candidates. They are Gary Sammons or Chuck Kimball. At-large reappointment for the planning board.
Here you go.
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 votes for Gary Sammons and 1 vote for Chuck Kimball.
Chair would entertain a motion on this.
Move to reappoint Gary Sammons.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote. All right, carries 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. Next up.
The next is a recommendation concerning an at-large reappointment or appointment to the Board of Adjustments. We have Amaya Moss or Randy Ponson. I believe I said his name correctly. Board of Adjustments.
All right, here we go. Yes, ma'am. Sure, absolutely.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's easy. Okay. All right, gentlemen, we had a little, mix-up here, so we've got two gentlemen that have been nominated here. We've got Randy Ponson, or we've got a lady, Maya, what's her name?
Mouse.
Okay, so the chair would entertain a motion on one or the other. We don't have ballots. We're just going to do a hand vote.
If
Or
the
we
chairman
can-
would like to wait a moment, I will be happy to print some.
Or we could just write the name. Yeah, you want to just do, yeah, right, is that all right? Can we do that?
Okay.
All right, so we'll just write the name down and we'll hand it to you.
I do ask that you sign it because you
Sign it.
cannot do a secret vote, so please sign your
Okay,
paper.
all right. No secrets. There we go, all right. Oh, yeah, there you go. There we go. All right. There you go. All right. I think this is officially the longest growth management.
Don't say that. Don't say.
Sorry to everyone who's waiting for this thing. Sorry, Jim. Jim's over there going, what's going on? All right. What's the damage?
Mr. Chairman, we have 2 votes for
Uh-oh.
Maya Moss and 2 votes for Randy Ponson.
All right, so I guess that doesn't, okay. Chair would entertain a motion at this point. We heard the vote. Chair would entertain a motion.
Do we expect Commissioner May back this evening?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move this item to the next regular scheduled meeting.
That's not a bad idea. I'll second that motion, unless it's time sensitive. Is it time sensitive?
No, we should have enough members for. Yeah.
Okay, all right, there you go.
But make it work.
All right, we got a motion and a second to move this to the next scheduled meeting.
Yes.
Any further? Okay, please vote. All right, motion to drop and move, bring it back, passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. All right,
Now we have the recommendation concerning Bluebird Haven final plat.
no speakers? Chair would entertain a motion, no speakers?
Move the item in the affirmative, A, B, C, and D.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, motion and a second, please vote. All right, that passes unanimously with Commissioner May off the dais. Okay,
Again, final plat, recommendation for final plat approval for Madeline Woods.
no speakers?
Move the item in the affirmative, A, B, C, and D.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. Item passes 4-0. Commissioner May off the dais. All right,
The next one is the final plat recommendation for Taylor Ridge.
no speakers on that one either.
Move the item in the affirmative, A, B, C, and D.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, please vote. Item passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. All right, consent agenda.
Then we have our consent agenda for January the 6th, 2022.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second for the consent agenda, please vote. Consent agenda passes 4-0. Thank you,
Thank you,
Director
Commissioner,
Jones.
for your patience.
Wow. All right. Wes, how do you follow that one up?
Short, much shorter.
Good.
There are 15 items on the technical public service consent agenda. Please make the following changes. Please hold CAR 1-9 so that Commissioner Bender can make a verbal modification.
Wait, for who?
That's one I'm just going to move up the start time of the waiver.
Oh, gotcha, okay. Is that the only hold on that one? All right, Chair will entertain a motion on the balance.
Move the balance.
Need to hold 3, please.
Okay. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You said hold 3?
3.
Okay.
All right, move the balance.
Second.
Motion and second on the balance,
Yes,
please
thank you.
vote.
Doug,
Ba-
on through.
Balance passes unanimously. Okay, so we're at CAR 1-3.
And Doug, that's just to accept the report and,
Yeah.
as we discussed this morning.
Yep. So I listened and just wanted to make sure that we were understanding that we are accepting the report as a work product of the AHAC, but it does not change any of our rules or regulations.
Yep, yeah, and we said that this morning too,
Yep.
so
Got it.
appreciate you enunciating that.
Move the item in the affirmative.
Okay, second?
Yeah, I would second it because it says B just notes staff concerns and not recommends any action, so.
Yep. All right, so we have motion and second on 1-3. Please vote. This thing. I like the old system better, I'll be very honest. This is the better system. All right, passes 4-0. Next up?
We don't have a great track record of technology.
No, we don't. We're on 1-9.
Yes, sir. So I'll move this in the affirmative, making the start time start at 7 a.m., realizing that it's 7 p.m., realizing that it wouldn't extend the length of the fireworks, but just if they need to go early, they would be compliant.
Yep, sounds good to me. Motion and a second, please vote. Oh, we got a card sitting? No? I don't have a 2. Oh, Doug, here. All right, item passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. All right, very good. Wes?
Mr. Chairman, there are 26 items on the budget finance consent agenda. Please make the following change. Please hold CAR 2-8 for a speaker and CAR 2-20 for a speaker.
Okay, those are the only 2 changes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion on the
Move the balance in the
Mr.
affirmative.
Chairman, I apologize. This morning, we discussed holding CAR 223 for a separate discussion.
Oh, 223 as well?
No, that's not
Not
necessary.
necessary. We worked through it.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's the one we talked about, right, Wes? Okay, all right, so we're going to move everything except for 8 and 20. Was that the motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion stands.
Motion is second. All right, please vote. Passes unanimously with Commissioner May off the dais. All right, CAR 2-8, recommendation concerning extension of USI broker services. Who wanted to hold that?
I think that may have been Commissioner May, unless there was any other comments.
No.
I think Ms. Pino had wanted to speak to it.
Was it a speaker? Oh, we have a
For-
speaker,
For
okay.
speaker, yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Marino. And I think I'm signed up for 20, but I'm waiving that one. In the next section, the Greenway project. This isn't necessarily anything about this particular contract. I just was really disheartened in the morning agenda review, and again, this is nothing against your answer, Mr. Marino. You know, you've been handed a pretty big mess, and I think you're doing a really good job taking care of it. But I found it really harrowing to hear that when the question was asked about how do we get this back on the agenda, because it seems like everybody thought, like I did, that this was not going to be extended again and that it was going to go out for an RFP or that you guys had already settled it. I don't remember what the specifics were. But then the answer was that it's got to be a contract extension because we can't get RFPs out from our procurement department. Like what? how long is the procurement problem going to last? And it's funny because everybody's like, why are you always nitpicking on such a little thing about procurements? Procurement is everything in government. If you're not putting out your RFPs properly, you are literally have no idea if you're getting the best product for the best money for from the taxpayers' money. So that's the only reason that I decided to mention that, because people know I've been hammering on procurement problems for some time, years. It started all the way back with the Rescue One company. So what was that, like 3 years ago? It would just be so nice to feel like procurement was actually being handled in a way that it's being handled professionally with best practices, that we are increasing our pool of people who can, act as a vendor for the county, because that's how we get the best price on stuff. And we're stuck with lowest price anyway, right? That's not a great system. It's really not a great system. But particularly because that's the case, we have to be extra careful on this stuff, and I just wish at some point it would go a little bit more smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you. I wouldn't go far. You're up next. All right. Chair would entertain a motion on 8. No other speakers?
Move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
Motion and second on 8. Please vote. All right, that item passes.
Mr. Chair, if I could just point of clarification, this did go out last year, and this was just, what we just did was encompass it to what was originally gone out to bid. So it was the 3 years as it was originally gone. We didn't, so. No, it's saying that the statement is correct, but with this particular one, it went out for bid a year ago, and for a 3-year contract, and that's what we just approved.
Wes, did you want to weigh in on that?
I just wanted to say to Ms. Pino, I certainly appreciate her comments. They're well received. Yeah, I did make that statement toward the end of my statement this morning, that we are having difficulty pushing stuff out of purchasing RFPs, advertisements for bids, simply because we are shorthanded. But that was not the only reason to do this amendment. We feel like we have a great contract at $5.91 per employee. We felt we have a great rate, and it was competitively advertised, and we did accept more than one bid, and it was through those negotiation processes that this USI was selected. And so I do appreciate your comments, and you're right. Nobody wants to fix purchasing more than me. Trust me. So I do appreciate that.
Board, in looking back at something that we already voted on, I realized I had skipped over a speaker. Christian Wagley, you're in the back. We obviously approved it, but if you'd like to come forward, I apologize for missing you. We voted to approve that letter, but I believe that you wanted to speak to it, so without objection, I'm going to go ahead and recognize him. Good evening.
Thank you. I must have missed that. Maybe I was outside. Or you guys go so fast. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that's what it was. You weren't in here, so, you know.
Christian Wagley. I work for Healthy Gulf, which is a nonprofit group dedicated to the Gulf of Mexico and the waterways and communities along its shores. Thank you for approving it. Commissioner Bender, thank you for bringing it forward. Just an update on this matter. It seems like every few years there's a need for the county to update its longstanding position against drilling in the federal waters offshore. What's happening right now is that we have had a congressional moratorium that's protected us out there since 2006. And again, we're talking about beyond 9 miles. We've got the state protection in the 9 miles. Beyond that is federal waters, basically a line at the Alabama border out about 125 miles. 2002, June is when it expires. It's always seemed like it was going to last forever. It's only 6 months away now. We have nothing in place right now to protect us. So as mentioned, 2022, so a little more than 6 months from now, right? As mentioned in the resolution, there's a bill introduced, Florida Coastal Protection Act, that would make that moratorium permanent. It's passed the House just recently in a form of the Build Back Better Act. So indeed, the debate now is going to be in the Senate. So it's important, as you mentioned in there, that you're going to be sending that to Senator Rubio and Senator Scott, because they need to hear from that. So I appreciate you all doing that. One other thing just to mention as part of all this is that our nation is finally starting to transition to renewable energy. It's going to take a while. It's probably 30 years out before there's a full transition Commission. But our future is definitely in solar and wind. It's only a matter of how soon we get there. That will forever remove the demand to drill out there, and we could stop having to do these resolutions. Just one local example of how that's happening, I will tell you right now, the city of Pensacola is actually doing a study. They have a third party, a firm doing it for them, looking at their grounds and their buildings to see where they can put solar panels, both to meet the council's renewable energy goals and also to ultimately save money for taxpayers. So again, thanks for your support for the resolution this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wagley, for being here. Okay, we'll move back to where we were. We're on 220, and Mel Pino, you don't want to speak?
Christian, thanks for coming. I appreciate the discussion and of course, something we support, so thank you.
All right, Chair would entertain a motion on 220.
Move the item in the affirmative.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on 220. Please vote. Car 220 passes 4-0. So moving to Car 3, I think we've already voted on that item. Is there anything else, Wes?
Not for me.
Okay, so we're at the county attorney's report. Allison, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are, I believe, 5 action items on the county attorney's report. I can take them as one item, or if you want me to break them out separately, I can do that as well.
Mr. Chairman, I would move the slate if there's no objection from my colleagues.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for county attorney's report action items. Any discussion on it? Commissioner Underhill?
I would ask that we pull back count 1-2 for separate vote.
All right, move the county attorney's report, amend my motion, move the county attorney's report 1, 3A through C, 4, and 5.
Second.
Yeah. I can't hear you.
Yeah, she signed up to speak for item 4.
Yeah, signature is 1-4. That is one of the 5.
Okay, so yes, then please, you're recognized. Guys, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Let's hear from Melissa Pino.
Okay, sorry.
You're right, you are.
Well, I already got chastised by Mr. Mirabile for politicking over a campaign. This is not about a campaign, but I just want to ask, in what universe can Commissioner Underhill sign off as legal proxy for this board when he is defaming the county attorney, he's libeling her weekly on social media, he's saying that she's committing crimes, he's literally saying this stuff on ECW, not to mention that you all are committing crimes. He has mentioned that he won't talk to her without another person present. He has stated that she has lied about the cause of the previous censure. He himself would be conflicted out on multiple things that he might have to sign. He's in federal court with a lawsuit, he's in state court with a lawsuit, and he's got multiple ethical probable cause findings that I would imagine are going to probably be up for a DOA hearing and perhaps even could be up over Christmas. And those are for serious financials on the probable cause. So, not politicking. Doug isn't running. I just don't get this. How can he have sign-off power on anything? And really, for me, it just highlighted the fact that he can't even fulfill his responsibilities as a board member anymore because he's so conflicted out legally. I don't know what can be done about that.
Thank you, Melissa.
Mr. Chair, my understanding is that typically it's the chair or the vice chair, but in this case, neither one may be available, and that's why it's offering to any board member, correct?
Yeah, and it's on a limited number, two items, 2 real estate items, very, very narrow, just for 3 weeks, because we're, there's a high likelihood I'll be out of town for Christmas, and Commissioner Underhill might be out as well. So, it's an unusual thing. We did talk about it this morning. I actually spoke about it with Wes and Allison during my weekly meeting with them, and it is an unusual request, but odds are high that I'm only going to be gone 6 days, so odds are high that I'll be here. It's only 2 documents. If I'm not here, Wes can sign it. If Doug's not here and I'm not here, then one of the other board members can sign it, and it's unusual, but it's just because we're out of town, it necessitates that.
It's a simple matter of business that we've never had any problem with before.
So I don't believe the agenda item specifically refers to two items. I think we know that it's two items.
Yeah, I mean, that's my understanding. It's just those two pressing real estate
I
items.
can-
I don't think we would anticipate that it would be, extend beyond the two items, though. But
No,
I mean,
my intent, to be very clear, the intent is because we have two real estate closings which could potentially need signatures at the last minute or pretty close to the last minute, and they must close by December the 31st. One is the purchase of 5 acres from Fairfield Drive Properties LLC that is related to the Delano Drainage Project, and the other one is the 331 acres that was voted on by you at the beginning of this evening's meeting, and that's the mitigation property. Those are the two we're worried about. Those are under a time crunch, and the signatures would be needed at the height of the Christmas time holidays.
Thank you, yeah. I'm comfortable with it, you know, so,
We have a motion and a second.
yeah, I believe we do have a motion and a second for all items except for number 2, so please vote. Okay, that passes 4-0. Okay, now we're back to action item number 2. Commissioner Underhill, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure that, that all of this has been fairly well hashed over. Do not believe that it is the county's job to pay for those legal fees. So I'll just have to be voting against it. I'm sure that you guys have the votes for what you need to do.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion on this one.
Move the item.
second.
Motion and a second, please vote.
And that was A through C.
Correct.
Second stands.
All right, that passes 3-1 with Commissioner Underhill voting in opposition and Commissioner May off the dais. All right, so now we're down to discussion items. We'll take number 1, recommendation concerning a presentation regarding the Traffic Management Center. I don't believe Austin's here.
Right, I did speak with Mr. Mount this afternoon, and I did not anticipate that he would show up this evening. And frankly, I think at this point, you all are aware of the ask. It has to do with the use of the public safety campus. If you guys could give Mr. Moreno and I a vote to give that the staff be authorized to engage in negotiations with Mr. Mount so that we can start putting together what that lease or other document would look like and the location would be, we can certainly start that process.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we give Mr. Moreno and the county attorney the latitude to engage in negotiations with Mr. Mount for the stated purpose.
Second.
Motion and a second on that. Any discussion? Stephen, you got your light on?
I was just going to move the item.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. All right, we got motions.
Chairman, I would just again like to recognize Commissioner Berry and his efforts in
Absolutely.
I know he's gone out on site with them and met with them, and so I appreciate his willingness to move this forward and to have it in Escambia County and helping find that location.
Absolutely. All of our board has expressed a lot of support for that on the TPO, and I know it's important to all of us. So happy to help.
Right on. Thanks, Commissioner Berry. All right.
And I do see Mr. Palmer of PSA in the back there, and I just want to make sure you understand that your item has been approved.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
In other words, you don't have to hang out.
Yeah.
You're excused.
The second discussion item, this is the request from Engineered Cooling Services that we discussed this morning. This is on here so that we can get board direction, how you would like for us to proceed in bringing something back or not.
It's my understanding from this morning's meeting, you're going to go and research doing this under our economic development MOU.
Some of those metrics are, certainly you can do that, assuming the metrics meet with your approval. The metrics that I'm aware of are the ones that he set forth in his letter.
Okay.
So if you are interested in doing that, then we need some direction from the board to bring back an agreement that satisfies that.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we ask Allison and Wes to work with them under the economic development exemption to draft an MOU. Draft an MOU for this purpose and bring it back to the board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Sounds good to me.
Thank you, Stephen, for that. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, can we take all the add-ons as one?
I believe we can, yeah. Let's see what that one did. Okay, that one passed 4-0. Okay. Next, information item.
This is just asking you to accept for the record for the years to come that it would be shown that the litigation regarding the transfer station with ECUA has ended.
All right, very good. Yes, the chair would entertain a motion on all of these items if someone wants to make it across the board.
I move Commissioner May's three add-ons, which are all recommendations concerning funding from his discretionary, as well as Commissioner Berry's, unless you wanted to do something separate with that.
Commissioner Underhill, would you also add, I don't believe that this was distributed this morning, the $1,500 for discretionary in support of Washington High School Marching Band?
It's on here.
It's on there.
That's one of the three.
So it's showing 4.
We did have 4. We had an additional one passed out that we were able to get in the system at the last
Oh,
minute.
you have all 4?
Yes,
Okay,
sir,
I'm
we
sorry.
sure do.
Okay, he said he didn't think you had the 4th. All right, I apologize.
Okay, so we've got a motion on 5 items here, right? Is that right,
Yes.
Doug? Okay.
All 4 of Commissioner Mays and the one for Commissioner Berry, correct?
Correct.
That is correct.
Good, okay, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote on those.
Sorry, I didn't capture the second for that.
Oh, I thought.
Commissioner Berry, thank you.
All right, the add-ons pass unanimously with Commissioner May off the dais. Any announcements? Anything for the good of the order? Anything further? Wes, any last words? Horace, anything else for us? We're adjourned.